Good afternoon. I would say good afternoon. It's evening here. It's 4:40 here. So good afternoon and welcome. It's very a pleasurable moment for me to interact with you. Though I'm looked upon as a presenter, I would take it as a facilitation, and we all are, I believe, TA, which says we all have the potential. Only it's little different. Welcome, D. So we start with the context. Um as we have been hearing Ronan so far about artificial intelligence and about relationship. Do you believe TA also connects more with relationship? Yes or no? TA is all we learned. I mean, I have learned TA to the best to deal with the situations and deal with the people and make the relationships much better, even if they are good. So today, I would like to ask you to do something. Is that okay if I ask you to do something? Uh, do you have something to write?
Yep.
So we'll have 2 minutes, and 2 minutes, just write whatever comes to your mind. 2 minutes. Only keep writing.
Sunila, just to clarify, do you mean what's in our mind just now, but even just before we start the session or as we start the session? Just what's in our mind?
And it's like we have thoughts in our mind. So there's no context given. There's no context as such. There's no
Okay.
context. Just like for example, now I'm thinking what would they be writing? So I would write what would these people would be writing. So I'll also write with y'all. We need not share it, we just write it. But for 2 minutes without stopping. How was your experience? Like for example, what I did, I'll just show you. I drew some picture here. I was not in a mood to write because my attention span was like who's coming in. I need to admit that person. And if I start writing, will I be able to complete? All these kind of thoughts were going on. And I couldn't write. This is my experience. And I felt like, oh, when will this 2 minutes complete? It's like 2 hours. It went like it will be 2 hours for me. When will I was looking at the clock over there, 2 minutes. Okay, now done. So the moment I reached that, I was happy to say done, 2 minutes over. I would like to hear your experience too.
I found it quite difficult. Sorry, Julia. I found it quite hard. I was really waiting for it to finish. And
Yeah.
I was having to force myself to write, to really think about what I was thinking, to then write it down. So it seemed really unnatural and really strange. And I was really glad when it was over. Sorry,
Thank you,
Julia.
Catherine. Thank you for your authentic sharing. Yeah.
No
Yes,
problem.
Julia.
Mine was mostly sensory. How I'm feeling, whether it's cold or hot, or whether my tea will go cold before the end of the workshop. I'm very fidgety. These audio earplugs are not very comfortable. My shoulders are really stiff, all of this sort of stuff. And just as you said, time up, I thought, oh, I've got nothing to write about now. So it went very fast for me.
Hmm. It went quite fast. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Yes.
I really enjoyed it. I write a lot actually, sort of in my spare time. So I really enjoyed having 2 minutes. It
Wow.
flew by. So yeah.
Yeah. So you wanted a little more time, Paul?
Yeah, I could sit here. As I say, I like to write a lot in my spare time, sort of all sorts of things,
Wow.
reflections, stories. So for me, it was, I could do that. I could sit and do that all day quite happily.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul.
I really enjoyed it too. And I
Oh,
got back,
wow.
I got to the middle and my mind went blank. So I've written blank mind, and then kind of paused and carried on.
Mhm.
And it's interesting. Yeah, I don't take enough time to just sit and rewrite and reflect on what comes out. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, I found the session, the exercise quite useful as well. I realize that I'm holding a lot of different stuff at the moment. I'm thinking about my sort of terror and overwhelm from the keynote speaker.
Yeah.
And about AI, but I'm also holding sort of the complete opposite. My mother lives with us, my husband and I,
Hmm.
and she's 87
Mhm.
today. So it's I'm thinking about her birthday. Is the vase that I bought her going to arrive in time for the lunch break so I can give her the present and do a ceremony, and how to, get her birthday dinner ready, and also I had a former therapist of mine is at the conference today, and I had in my mind, oh my God, is that person going to be in this session now? So I was aware of that, and it felt quite cathartic to write it down, to externalize. So I find it quite useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anybody else?
I think my mind just went blank because I don't often sit down for 2 minutes to write anything. So, just what that other person was saying about going blank, was quite similar for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Elspeth, thank you. Blank in the sense, was it like, a meditation experience?
Perhaps,
Mhm.
although yeah, I don't actually personally meditate very often, but yeah, it was, yeah, I just don't often sit down for 2 minutes and just try and concentrate on writing
Oh,
anything
oh.
from a blank space, if that makes sense.
So thoughtless for 2 minutes.
Sorry.
So I'm interpreting as thoughtlessness for 2 minutes is Elspeth experienced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a great thing.
Yeah,
You are close to contemplation then.
I think so.
Thank you, Elspeth.
Thank you.
Anyone would like to share experience? So with this context, I share my presentation. So we are talking about, just give me a minute. Is the screen visible?
Yeah.
So we, to set the context, that for 2 minutes, we exercised writing. And as Jennifer mentioned, that we have just come from the keynote speaker's address and talking about all the technologies. So between screens and synapses is today's context and unraveling the digital mindset. Why do you think those 2 minutes, for some, it was like, very enjoyable, but at the same time, for some, like for Paul, it was very enjoyable. And for some, it was fidgety kind of like, what would I do for me, myself itself, that I was into what should I do? Multitasking. I need to do this, I need to do this. So I was not able to focus on my thoughts and what do I write? So I made some pictures, and the picture itself is very meaningless. So I read a book by Nicholas Carr's The Shallows. So what's the impact of internet or the impact of screens? We use screens, right? If it is internet, then we use most of the times the screen, the Googling and watching reels, which Ronin also talked about the impact of the internet on human cognition and thought process. So with constant distractions, hyperlinks and superficial information consumption changing the way our brain functions. Um, do you believe something of this kind happened to you in last 2 minutes during the exercise? Were you able to resonate to what Nicholas Carr mentions in his book?
I can relate to that in terms of it just being really difficult to concentrate and focus, even though it's for a really short period of time on something that's quite straightforward. So
Yeah.
we're always distracted by so many things all of the time, and always so very busy with whatever.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine. And it's definitely like, even to just to sit down, like if you remember when we went to the Montessori classes, I mean, I'm talking about my experience. So we are restless, like 10 minutes, the child would move on. And then again, we were made to sit on a place and given some toys so that the Montessori experience was just to make us sit for 45 minutes. And to me, it appears, in my opinion, we have become those children in TA terms, like gone to that childlike situation where we are restless and we are not able to, maybe we are not physically moving, but our mind is constantly moving. So, this is what Charles Nicholas in his books. Please do read this book if you feel interested after the presentation. And so what's happening to our minds is what the context is all about and how we were as humans, uh, the purpose of our life as humans. So is it the Googling, like Googling part, the boons are real, but they come at a price, is what he has mentioned. How many of you agree that they come at a price? At what cost are we expanding our knowledge or expanding our ways of life? Life definitely have become very, very easy. Like for example, earlier if I had to take some money, I have to go to the bank, which could be at a distance, and then either drive to that place, and then it would spend almost 1 day to get some money. And now we have GPay here, Google Pay here, so it's so quick. So it has reduced quite a lot of it has saved time a lot. At the same time, it comes cost at a cost of, like, getting looted or getting duped. So these are some of the examples I would like. So would you like to share any of those experiences in terms of boon and a curse about the technology? How do you see it as?
I was
Boon?
thinking
Yeah.
of a client who I saw for a few months recently, well, a couple of months ago. He has Parkinson's disease, and he
Okay.
had he's only in his 30s when he this sort of manifested, and so he was terribly disabled by it. But he had a chip implanted in his brain, which that minimizes some of the the shaking and some of the worst symptoms of Parkinson's. So he's been able to kind of live his life
Wow.
because of that chip in his brain.
Wow. That's really uh, uh, very wonderful of the technology.
And
Anybody would like to share anything?
I just say I have to consciously make myself think of those good things, because
Yeah.
the power and the exponential development of AI is frankly terrifying to me. So I have to force myself to remember that there are actually some really good things from it too.
Yeah, definitely. Many of the things are really good. And like today, if we are at different parts of this world and we are still talking to each other, it's definitely the boon of the technology, the Zoom. Thank you, Jennifer. So the digital revolution. Now we acknowledge the monumental shift that the digital revolution has brought over the past few decades. We've witnessed an unprecedented surge in availability and global connectivity, which we are experiencing right now. Our lives have been fundamentally transiting the rapid dissemination of information and evolution of technology. So, with to give an analogy of this is like nowadays uh, getting a doctorate. Earlier, like when I was a student in college, PhD was mocked at. PhD, what we call doctorate. A doctorate degree was mocked at by some mimics saying that you need to spend with the guide about 5 to 6 years, doing his or her. This is in India. What am I talking? Doing the household stuffs, so that the guide gives you the certification or uh, gives that. Uh, Credentials so that you become a doctor. So these days it's become so easy. And one of my friend, he got his doctorate from Thames by just answering and sending those answers, making his credentials through the online sessions, and he is now a doctor. So this has been a very good, and also getting to exposure to the knowledge which is spread world around. So the digital revolution definitely has brought out a lot of good changes in us. Um, and in terms of using so I've put some pictures over here, like if you can see this is an old clock, old typewriting machine, and the old map, which now has turned to digital map. So I would like to share one example here now that we don't need addresses to be asked to. Like earlier, when I used to drive a car 15 years ago, each time roll down the window, ask somebody, this road goes to this place, this road goes to this place, and sometimes also get uh, lost somewhere, go 10 to 15 kilometers and then drive back. So today it's become like, my younger one, we drove to Kerala, which is 1,000 kilometers away from here, just based on the Google map. At times, of course, there are glitches, but it was very easy for us to locate and drive, and it shows all the shortest and the less uh, traffic routes. Anybody would like to share on this, your experience? Yeah,
Uh,
Catherine?
sorry.
It's interesting. It's just making me think about how the information we have so easily available all the time makes life a lot easier. But with things like Google Maps and as a student, I had to go to the library and get books out, and it was quite a challenge to get to the library first to get the book, or there wouldn't be
Yeah.
enough for everybody to do their assignments. And I just think with my daughters who are now in their 20s, that
Hmm.
problem solving almost is just not something they have to do. They don't have to worry about figuring out how to work out the route in advance because you've got a map book in the car, or
Yeah.
accessing things in hard copy because things are online. And it just
Hmm.
makes things easier. But in some ways that's unfortunate because you get a lot out of those experiences in having to work out those problems yourself. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine. These days, it's like, I'm learning all these stuff from my children. Both are in IT sectors, they are working. So they are happy to teach me. That is what basically we are very happy to teach you all these things, because even I've started using Chat GPT for some content, just an experimenting. So it's fun to learn the new things. At the same time, it's very challenging also. Now we come to the internet's influence on cognition. This is where the TA thing comes in. So it's shaping the way we think and process information. So the 2-minute exercise, if we recall, does it make sense to you that those 2 minutes, of course, to sit and write, we need to process our brain, we need some quiet time, and then 2 minutes is too short time to ask somebody to write. This is what I experienced, and I also resonate with your thoughts. To sit and write, like if a writer has to sit and write, he will need at least an hour to contemplate and then to put his thoughts organized and then write. So our cognitive patterns are shifting. This is in terms which referring to the way we used to think earlier, with a growing emphasis on quick information processing at the potential expense of deep comprehension. So if you notice the book name, The Shallows, this is what is happening. So he mentions as what is the internet doing to our brains. So it is, of course, we are given that information and we get things readily. Like for example, the Blinkit app we have for vegetables within 10 minutes. So what worries me is getting the vegetables or the groceries at 10 minutes is fine and I'm happy about it. At the same time, these boys who ride, they come on a bike. So their challenge, we have a lot of traffic in Navi Mumbai, overall Mumbai. So they just, ride so harsh because the app mentions you'll get it in within 10 minutes. At what cost is what I think. At the cost of a life of a person who is riding that bike. I don't know if that system is there in your place, but we have these kind of things. And n number of young boys take up this task of delivering the goods at a speed of 10 minutes to a household. So we now faced with the challenge of managing information overload. So this is in context with, have you all experienced when you read an article on Google, do you get hyperlinks? If you are reading an article, there's a hyperlink, like if it comes in blue color. So I tend to click on that. Then it goes to another. Then there are much more hyperlinks over there. So the focus, like last day, if I sit for reading a physical book, it is becoming a challenge for me rather than reading an article of a PDF. So the brain does an enormous amount of cognitive work all the time at the cost of putting our brains to work more. It's good, it's working more. At the same time, it's shallow. This is what the context of this presentation is, the internet's influence on cognition. Any questions here? Are we okay to proceed?
Yeah, okay.
I have
Any sharing? Yeah. Yes, Julia.
I have a comment to make. I was reading a book recently, and I tend to read on my Kindle because my eyesight is going and it's much easier for me. So that's one benefit. But the book made reference to a particular hymn that I thought was out of context in that time that the book was set. So I always thought it was a Victorian hymn, and the book was set in Georgian times. So I was able, through the internet, to look up that hymn very quickly while I was reading and discover that, in fact, it had been written at the right time and the reference was correct. But it left that kind of instant information at my fingertips added to my reading pleasure, if you like, and to my knowledge. So I think that can be beneficial, even though it is shallow. I think it can be a beneficial process.
Yeah. Thanks, Julia. That's definitely beneficial. And I've also found it very useful, like having PDFs, because they are soft copies and we need not have space for the physical books. Yeah. So here, thank you, Julia. And the new editions, it may not be available physically at any bookstore, but yes, if we search in the Google, I too have a lot of PDFs these days. So we are talking on the amount of cognitive work all the time, rather than just on the getting things from internet, how easy it is. So shall we delve into what it makes about Googling all the time or surfing the net? So neuroplasticity, which we really heard, I think Renon in his keynote speaker also speech mentioned, I'm not sure, but neuroplasticity and the brain. So this term refers to the brain's remarkable ability to rewire and adapt itself based on experiences and environmental stimuli. In the context of digital world, this means that our brains are adapting to the constant influx of information and stimuli from our digital devices. So we are not talking only about surfing the internet or getting books from internet. These days, Instagram, Facebook, and the influences of those events. So, for example, uh, this happened recently with me. Me and my husband, we both have our Instagram handles accounts, and my husband just mentioned one small comment on one of the posts, which was amplified uh, with an interpreted uh, message that it led to a kind of, it went viral. And within minutes, I started getting calls. The people could identify me as his wife through his account, and then also get my account and get my number, because I post my workshops with numbers, with my phone contact number and email ID. And I started getting calls, and I was like stunned. Okay, what happened? No, you give your husband's number. We want to sue him, this and that. I was all shocked, and I asked them very politely that what's the matter. And they were like, you look at his comment, and the comment didn't really make any much sense as bringing kind of religious riot, but this was my experience. And my husband immediately took off from that. I mean, he let go his account, he closed it, and we couldn't even say sorry to those people that it was not an intention to hurt anybody, just two words, his opinion he had mentioned, and this went viral. So this is a real experience what we had. Nothing of in this context, of course. So our brain, he's talking about, Carl is talking about the neuroplasticity. We are highly evolved humans, and we have the potential. Our brain has the potential to adapt to things. Like if I may say, I am 56, and each one of us here are able to log into Zoom. And did our parents had this facility those times? I just think, would they be able to do it? My 82-year-old mother-in-law, she's using WhatsApp and she's happy with it, because now she can't make much movements. She was a teacher and now she enjoys that, watching reels and also sending messages, picture messages to her friends, having video call. Uh, so it's a boon at that particular time. At the same time, she is seated most of the time. She's addicted to it. This is what is little painful, that she says, okay, the thing is, like, getting to the phone immediately. If you remember in the morning session, Ronin asked, how many of you look at the phone the moment you get up. That has become a routine now.
I think maybe
Yeah.
sort of one problem is that our brains will adapt to new things
Yeah.
they have to adapt to. But I mean, so my mother also, 87, she shops online to get her groceries through online. She's learned how to do it. So her
Wow.
brain has adapted even at aged 87, but she
Yeah.
doesn't understand any of the mechanics or the principles behind it. So it
Mm-hmm.
creates a dissonance, really, because yeah, she's learned to do it, and that's wonderful. But it also creates
Yeah.
dangers when we don't understand the principles behind it, 'cause then we can really, become, victims in this internet age.
Yeah. Kind of, Jennifer, like giving a child some screwdriver and it enjoys it, but doesn't know what could be the side effects of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So three impacts the shallows impacts on three key areas is what is it doing, which is kind of a harm, that attention span. So here we have a picture of a fish, goldfish. It's believed that it has a span of 9 seconds, and now the study shows or the survey shows that human it's 8 seconds. So we have gone lower than that of the goldfish. So the amount of time spent concentrating on a task before becoming distracted is the time attention span, and which is really important in my opinion, that we need a more span of attention uh, to get to deeper understanding of anything. Jennifer, I would resonate with your example sharing of your mom using the app. So deeper understanding is what we are lacking from. Paul, may I use uh, your experience of writing here as an example?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to ask you, or I would like to request you to share. You said you write stories, you love to write.
Hmm.
Uh, and how do you do that? How do you write? Like, do you write on the gadgets or pen and paper?
And both. I write on pen with pen and paper. I write on my computer sometimes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of
Yeah.
different ways. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. But I
And
do.
may I,
Oh yeah, please. Yeah.
yeah, may I ask you, what's the time span you can write without any distraction?
Oh, sometimes if I get sort of locked into it, I can go for a couple of hours easily. Sort of just
Wow.
I get really focused on something. Yeah.
Yeah. So
In
that's
fact,
very
it
nice.
takes
Thank
my
you.
cats to come into the room and walk on the keyboard or walk over my pad to get me to stop.
I think the cat's time span is lesser than yours then. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
They usually want
Thank you, Paul, for
feeding,
sharing.
so yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul, for sharing.
You're welcome.
So do you believe, is it necessary to increase or broaden our attention span?
I think there's something around the attention span thing because I think people have a longer attention span, like when they're using WhatsApp. They send a
Mm-hmm.
message and then they're paying attention to the three little dots which say, or then they see the ticks which say it's been delivered. Then they see the ticks that say it's been read. Then they're looking at the little dots saying the other person's typing, or they're wondering why the other person isn't typing. So people can get
Mm.
locked into that process for a lot more than 8 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think it depends what our attention is locked into. I think I suggest to a lot of my clients, and I certainly do it myself, to switch off the blue ticks on WhatsApp, because it drove me crazy until I switched it off. And I just think, we're getting locked into the wrong things. Our attention span is being drawn by the wrong things.
Yeah. So second impact is on the, thank you, Paul. Second impact is on the memory. Now, what shallows mean is recalling of mental impressions of past events from the subconscious mind is memory. Now, for example, we almost all attended the keynote speech, and though I am presenting, back of the mind there are some pictures. Pictures I could still recall. But most of the things what Renan said, it's difficult for me to recall. Wherein this is the impact what Nicole talks about, constant digital influences on our impacts our memory. Anyone would like to share your thoughts on this?
I think we tend to remember the things that make an impact on us, and the rest of it leaves very quickly. So the things that make an impact on you, for instance, were the pictures. On me, it was more about the words and the ideas, and they both have value. So I think in my mind, the pictures were not so important, so they will recede into the background, if you like, but the words will stay in the memory much longer.
Yeah.
I
Thank you, Julia, for sharing.
was reading something a little while ago about I guess they did some kind of research, but the people are retaining memories a lot less now for information, because when people will Google something to find out the information, but they don't retain it because they know that they can always Google it again with the same level of ease. So the information has become so accessible that people have stopped retaining it because they know they can go back to Google and find it again very quickly. So Google's become almost like a kind of default substitute memory in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, I was thinking about spelling and my ability to spell, because when I put the spell checks on documents, I just have that automatic, the spell check will do it. So my ability to spell has gone right down. I'm ashamed to say. So yeah, you reminded me of that.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, for bringing this up. So recalling of mental impressions. So forgetfulness, forgetting the things. We need to build, like if we talk in context of TA, the patterns need to be repeated. Like if we read once, like what we experienced in school days, like we were asked to 3 times, like the teacher used to teach us, we used to get homework, and then we used to reproduce it in the class, which made us 3 times go through one of the things. And retaining that was much more, we retained it in a deeper sense. And so we could recall it easily. This is what the memory part is talking about. Exactly as what Paul mentioned, that recalling the memory. So it's forgetfulness, because we know, as he mentioned, as he said rightly, it's available there. Anytime we will get it there. So no need to recall, or no need to store it over here, and no need to go into a deeper sense, like what exactly it is, to understand it in a deeper sense. And I also agree to what Paul also mentioned, that what is the productivity of where we are investing our focus and attention. I too get carried away when I'm watching reels, and now I'm much more relieved when I've stopped my Instagram account. At the same time, there's a craving to open it and see it. But once I start, okay, this information is good for me. How authentic it is, I'm not looking at that. So the authenticity of any messages given through Instagram Reels or Facebook posts is something I have started thinking these days.
Can I just say something about retention?
Yeah.
So a client that I was working with recently, she's in her 20s, and she had to do some minutes for a meeting. So she'd attended the meeting, she'd written some notes, but then she used ChatGPT to formulate the formal version of the minutes. So she just wrote, well, she had the notes written, typed up, and she just put this into ChatGPT, and it came up with the minutes of that meeting using her words. So, she didn't have to remember what happened or who said what or the nuances that she was able to, to add into the minutes. She just handed that task over to AI or to machine learning or whatever it is, and so that speaks to that point of retention, is that, when we do a task and we have to really think deeply about it, obviously it's going to lay down the memories more, and we do retain that. And I feel that that she, that in that example, I don't know that she would really have at all remembered that meeting. Because she didn't do the follow-up work. She gave it to ChatGPT to do.
Yeah. And ChatGPT did not attend the meeting, right?
Exactly. It did not attend the meeting. Yeah.
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 So again, the question mark is on the authenticity of the ChatGPT's minutes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've thought the similar kind of thing about they're advertising all these smartphones now with AI on them, and they have, you can fix your photographs. You can make people smile, you can take people out of the photograph, you can add people in, you can change the angle of people's heads if they're looking away. And it's like, so it's not a photograph anymore, it's an image of something that never actually happened.
Yeah.
And you're looking at that to be a memory, to remind you of a happy time, a happy occasion, like a wedding or something. But it's not real. It's not what actually happened. And I think that's crazy. I think Stalin would have loved that if he could just take people out of pictures that easily. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Yes, Paul. From TA perspective, I would like to share on this that transactional analysis aims or objectives talks about awareness, spontaneity, and intimacy. So where are we in these terms then, if the photographs are taken that way, or if the chat GPT is taking the minutes and presentations? I have had colleagues who made the presentations within just minutes using the chat GPT. And I felt like I was a fool who was reading throughout the book and then again thinking and trying to put it in my words, uh, and they just talk to me. These days you're not using chat GPT, why are you wasting your time? Which I felt low. I have not wasted my time. I've read a book and I tried to understand it in a deeper sense. And that happens when the question from the audience comes, okay, what about this? And then there's no chat GPT to help them during the sessions. So, yeah.
I think, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about how we use things like ChatGPT and use them meaningfully. So, for example, I typed in to ChatGPT, can you make me a leaflet on the drama triangle for my clients, not so long ago.
Yeah.
And then I had to repeat the question because well, I had to then change the leaflet because it didn't fit with how we would see the drama triangle. So ChatGPT can change information, but it can also, it
Yeah.
made it sound really harsh, you know, when I was thinking about, you know, you couldn't present it to a client. So it's kind of how, it's how we use it, but how we use it meaningfully. That's really important, I think. And that kind of, that minute taking, like that minute taking can actually, allowing ChatGPT to do it can actually be quite useful, because it might have another, it might have information to add at some point, or of how we then process it in our brains afterwards and go, well, actually, is this what my minutes were? And is the ChatGPT writing in the way that I would really write, you know? And that I just think those processes are really, really interesting in the way that we're starting to use it. Because it can certainly add and bring to things, but what and in what way, and how do our brains change and work with it, because it's there.
Yeah, Lisa.
Yeah,
Right, very, very true what you've mentioned. And I also believe that as a reference, using the ChatGPT, I do use as a reference, just to see, like, how the words are. It uses some very nice statements and organized way of, so for some structure and all, I just use it as a reference. But at the same time, I want my brains to be put into what I do. So to make it more authentic, rather than just copying it from the chat GPT. It's a very nice tool, of course, uh, to get an organized or structured. It gives very structured presentations framework. So as a reference,
as a dyslexic person, it can be really, really helpful, because it can help me present something in a way I wouldn't be able to present it otherwise.
Yes, of course. And it's very surprising that when I just asked few questions about some of the books of Julie Hay, transactional analysis, it gives very relevant informations on that.
I've got a
because I
client.
didn't have the book at all, so it gave the summary of the book, and it was very yes.
I was just
Yes,
going to say.
Jennifer.
I was just going to say that I was just started working with a new client, and he's neurodiverse, and he works in IT, and he sent me a 17-page a kind of the outcome of a discussion that he has with chat GPT, because I didn't really read it because it's not what's important to me, but it's what we do in the room. But I was interested in how he framed the questions. So he wanted to understand if there were patterns, unhealthy patterns in his life. How could ChatGPT help and enlighten him on that? And it came up with a list of about 8 different things. But he said, and he interacted with it quite intelligently, and he said that my learning style does not respond well to lists. Please, can you ask me one question at a time, and then I will formulate an answer, and then your answers can evolve in sync with that. And that felt like actually quite a constructive and interesting way to engage with with ChatGPT. And I don't think it will ever replace, or for some people it won't replace therapy. I mean, as a result of those answers, actually he decided to seek therapy with a human being and wants face-to-face therapy. But I thought it was an interesting kind of collaboration, or sort of coexistence of AI and human beings.
Helpful indeed. So it's for us to reflect how it influences our attention, and being TA practitioners, of course, we are able and we have the ability to reflect and be aware where we are and how much we are into all these digital stuff. So the multitasking myth is something Nichols talks about. Well, many of do you believe? How many of you believe that multitasking about multitasking? We can multitask. Humans can multitask.
I personally am not very good at it.
Speaking as a
Do
man,
you
I'm
believe others
absolutely
can?
useless.
Jennifer, do you and Paul, do you believe others can?
I think that others can and I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I could only
Yeah.
speak to my own personal experience, and that is no, I do one thing at a time. That's it. I mean, you know, if I'm making a cup of coffee and some toast, I don't consider that multitasking because I put the kettle on to boil and then I put the bread in. That I do one thing at a time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Can
think that's
understand.
generally true of multitasking. I think you may
Yeah.
have two tasks on the go, but you'll be focusing on one or the other and not both together.
Yeah. Thank you,
I
Julie.
al-
That was, yeah. So many of us believe we are proficient at juggling tasks simultaneously. Research suggests otherwise. So in my opinion, I also am of the opinion that I can do only one thing at a time. And if I'm doing four things at a time, I'm uh, dividing my attention of one thing. Like if I have to put 100% in doing one task, I am putting 25% if I'm doing four things, which will show in its results, whether I'm cooking, whether I'm reading, or whether I'm doing any other task. It will show in my results, in my outcome, in my output. This is what I believe. So constant multitasking can actually hinder productivity and lead to cognitive strain. So here we are talking about the multitasking on the net. Like if you see, I have closed all my other tabs on my laptop. Uh, but my children, when they see me, I'm very busy. I'm very particular in closing the extra tabs which I've opened for. So my children say, why do you want to close them? Let it be open over there. So anytime the cursor goes there, it comes up, and when you want again, you have to open. So this is something I've been struggling, like keeping all the tabs, and nowadays I'm okay with, like when I see most of those tabs open there, it brings some kind of discomfort in me that I want to close. So maybe this is the reason of my opinion of, or of my deep thought of not being able to multitask, or I'm not the person of multitasking. It could be that reason. So it's essential to find a balance between focus and digital engagement. Uh, some examples over here I would like to share that in the busy, there is something term called super moms. These days, the women would like to call them as super moms. Like, you know, they are juggling the things. Like they do this, they do that, and I'm multi, and they proudly feel uh, to express themselves as super moms or multitaskers. And that's when, like, if it is a mother and a child relationship, to me it's like, you know, looking at the child's face while giving it the care and attention uh, is most important from TA perspective again, that what kind of a conversation or what kind of transactions are happening between the child and the mother while multitasking. Like if the child is getting ready to school and mother is in the kitchen talking from there, uh, this definitely would impact in the upbringing of the uh, child. Is one of the examples I've seen, and I have also been doing in those days. But after having learned TA since 2018, I believe I need to bring in those changes, and I am consciously bringing in those changes. That when I'm interacting with somebody, I do make sure that I look at that person's face rather than looking at a phone. I keep the phone aside. Even now, I've kept my phone in on silent, and I promised committed to myself that till the time I am with the audience, I would not engage into any other tasks. These are some of the commitments. Having been into TACC these many years. So it's essential to find a balance between focus and digital engagement. Uh, Anybody would like to share on this?
I think the best example of what you've just been talking about, Sunila, for me, is pretty much every time I walk down the street, I almost get walked into by somebody who's looking at the phone and they're walking down the street.
Whoa. Oh my
People
goodness.
walk
Yeah.
down the street looking at their phones and they may be texting, or I don't know what they're doing, but people walk down the street and they're not looking where they're going. They're not aware of the surroundings. They're looking at the phone. And stories pop up in the news about people getting run over, people taking selfies on holiday and stepping off piers and cliffs and all sorts of crazy stuff. And it may appear that they're multitasking, as in walking down the street and looking at the phone, but they're not.
Yeah. In India, we have people so busy that while driving, they need to have phone. So in the cars, they accept the calls, which I'm very much dreadful to, like receiving the call. And the car has its arrangements now given uh, that you can receive a call while you are driving, which itself I think it's okay. But at least if somebody can stop and attend the call and then again drive, how much difference would it make? Uh,
Yeah,
no,
when people are walking down the street just almost blindly, I think, how important is that message
yeah,
you're sending or receiving? If it's
yeah,
that important, just stop, stand still and pay attention to the message or whatever it is, and then continue walking. But yeah,
yeah.
I,
And the accidents. Yeah. Yes, Lisa.
what you're saying, Paul, makes me think about engagement and disengagement, and how that disengagement from what's going on in the present moment is happening, and that kind of, in terms of focus, and we're talking a lot about kind of how our brains process information, and in that focus, in that digital focus and digital world, we lose a sense of perhaps the deep wisdom that we get from being with the trees, or in the woodlands and amongst nature and things like that, and that, and what we get in the therapy room in relationship. And it's like how, and that balance between those two things, how can the digital world help us, but how do we not lose contact with things that we have, that we know humans have always needed, and yeah, just the wisdom that we get from connecting with that kind of deep sense of place and self and stuff like that. I think it's a really difficult tightrope to walk.
Yeah, it's difficult. Though, Lisa, would you believe it's possible?
I'd like to hear about it.
Yeah.
I was
I can
thinking,
I can share my experiences how I am putting efforts to do so. So we move ahead. So deep thinking.
I was just going to
Sorry?
say, I was just going to say that how the therapy room is an antidote to that, because it's so simple. We have 50 minutes in a quiet room with no other stimulation, no phone calls ringing, phones on silent, just one face looking at another, two pairs, a pair of eyes looking in another pair of eyes, and it feels like the ultimate antidote to all of that distraction.
Digital distraction. Oh, thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that. We are talking about deep thinking in digital age, or maybe contemplating in digital age, which once was a thing. Contemplation, at least in India, it's been into practice. Of course, in your in your place also, it would be there. If we think about the purpose, reaching to the purpose of life, or in TA terms, the autonomy, which has awareness, spontaneity, and intimacy. Uh, the distractions. So, given the challenges we face, it's crucial to explore strategies for cultivating deep thinking. Here, when I talk about deep thinking, uh, critical thinking is something which is much in need or is crucial when uh, some problems or situations are required. The situations require some deeper thinking and going to the roots of the problem. So, for example, nowadays, even if I am asked to give a presentation, so 2 hours is a good time what I got here. So in some of the places in corporates, they ask me to present lot of things like they want communication as well as strategic thinking. I mean they give a list of 10 things and they would give me say half a day, 4 hours, which doesn't make sense. I mean no, this the people are able to grasp it, and I'm not satisfied. Not even the audience are satisfied with what they are getting. So this is how uh, the workshop is done, but the outcome of that workshop is that they go with no takeaways, or they have nothing to implement in their uh, corporate world or the place where they work. So I have really stopped taking up such assignments because it doesn't satisfy me. It doesn't make sense to me. Like if for example, most of you are therapists here. Uh, would don't you think at least you need a 45 to 50-minute session with one client to just to explore where that person is coming from, or what's the background of that person? Do you believe me? At least a 40-45, so that we have a connect with that person. And once we don't have the connect with that person, it's very difficult to understand in a deeper sense, especially in therapy, is my opinion. So even if it is therapy or if it is workshop, a seminar, the time factor does matter to get connected and explore strategies for cultivating deep thinking. So they are more adept, and at a rapid information process, now we are adept. Like even it's all fast, 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 fast. So the moment I am connecting with my children, they feel like mom should speak, do it fast. Even if I'm writing a full statement on WhatsApp, I get my children would say, "Mom, why are you writing essays? The is only D. Don't write THE." So this is what is the learning I'm getting. So I'm not okay with that, and I write THE. I said no. This is what I would like to write. The full statement. I need the commas to be placed at where they are. The full stops to be placed where they are. So mom, why do you want to do all these things? The other person gets the message, even if you don't put a comma. So great is written GR8. This is what I've learned. Yes, Julia. Something you would like to share?
There we go. Doesn't it give you thinking time as well when you're writing a message like that? Because it's so easy to be instantly reactive and then think, oh no, I've said something I shouldn't, or I've phrased it wrong, or whatever. So if you write out in full what you're trying to say, you get the time to think and process your answer before you send it.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
And also make sure that what I send is understand in an understandable way to the other person, so that that person does not struggle to process my message. This is my attempt, and maybe because I believe that only then the connect happens.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. And I've also experienced with some of the youngsters the critical thinking part. Thinking like if we look at TA, the injunctions. Don't think injunction. Out of the 12, don't think is one of the injunctions. I believe it's not only perceived in the childhood. Now the digital era also is supporting to reinforce that don't think injunction. Like for example, chat GPT making minutes of the meeting. No need to think at all. Just put it, and so it's getting reinforced not to think. If it is getting reinforced not to think, then deeper thinking or contemplation is far away. So it's important to recognize that we are not passive recipients of the digital age, which I think most of us do believe and are also practicing. Being aware, we have the power to shape how we engage with technology. While there are undeniable benefits, we must also be mindful of the potential cognitive drawbacks. And it's about finding a harmonious relationship with the digital world. So we are talking about adapting rather than detriment. I believe each one of us here, of course, I would share some of my experiences, and I would love to hear your experiences of how are we adapting this digital world, and how we are aware with awareness using this and adapting. So recommendations for a balanced digital life. Reflections and suggestions are aimed at fostering a healthy relationship with technology while preserving a capacity for deep thinking and reflection. I have something to share with you. So this again is about who is owning the power. The picture itself is very clear to you, I believe, that are we in India we call this as Katputli. The strings are in the digital hands, or is the digital world in our hand? So it's our choice who own the power of the digital era. Now, Lisa, so here's something I would like to share, that what are the attempts I am making to have some time. So I have experienced the Vipassana meditation, and just would like to share with you that the Vipassana is of 10 days for the beginners. And in 10 days, of course, fully working people will have a challenge to go about it. And uh, we are asked to give up the phone, and I mean, we we give up the phone at the counter and we don't get the phone. So we call up all our relatives. It's a center in Igatpuri place, and there are rooms, and there are also small cells. Uh, so it's a sort of healing, and also reflecting, and uh, making yourself be much more aware about your body and your existence on this world. So the content in terms of not even looking at the other person, not even looking at the plants and surroundings much. So more of 9 days I spent there, and scanning throughout from the head to the toe, and the process is shared. How do we scan about it? Each time go and scan. So this is one of the techniques I have. Digital detox, of course, digital detox, one of the techniques, and uh, to raise or leverage my self introspection, one technique. And I do go to places. So this is a mountain, 3,500 steps, where there are no towers of, you don't get any range for phone. So I explore this mountain trekking, and some spiritual places also I visited where the phones are not allowed. So that gives a reason to be away from the digital. Now, since we all people are very well aware, being TA practitioners, shall I stop the screen? So TA as a tool very much helps us to bring back our awareness and reflect, okay, and schedule digital time and or digital detox time. It could be once in a week. I would say fasting on WhatsApp is one thing I am practicing. So no WhatsApp on particular time, or the fasting on time, fasting of WhatsApp. So these are some of the techniques I practice. I invite you all to share your experiences and any questions welcome.
I've never heard that expression before. That's fascinating. Fasting from what? Yeah, I love that.
WhatsApp fasting.
WhatsApp fasting. Yeah, I don't know.
We can have Facebook fasting. We can have Instagram fasting.
I don't think I do that routinely at all, except I do make sort of micro decisions if I'm driving. So sometimes I see clients here at home, and sometimes I see them somewhere else. And when I'm driving, I try to stop listening to anything and just to focus on my reflections of clients, and I have to force myself to do that. Otherwise, I'm listening to my audio book, which I'm obsessed about listening. The only other times I think that I don't have any external input is when I'm gardening, and we have a big garden. So in the spring and the summer months, I'm spending a lot of time in my leisure time in the garden, and that is an enormous and wonderful antidote to being online. That does really clear my mind and ground myself in the physicality of the task. But I'm gonna
gardening. I too engage in. Of course, it's a flat apartment, so I have few pots, and you really don't realize how much time you have spent in gardening. And journaling, like writing journals is also something I love, and I get into art journaling also, artistic. I love drawing those.
And it's funny actually when you say about journaling, because a lot of my younger clients all seem to love journaling.
Wow.
And maybe that is exactly because it's an antidote for them. They're on their phones and online so much more even than I am in my 50s. So maybe there's something about that journaling which really appeals to them, because it's the antithesis of their online activity.
I have a neurodiverse adult son. He's ADHD, and one of the things he discovered, it was an adult diagnosis, so he struggled for a long time. But he discovered that if he leaves his phone in a different room, he sleeps much better. I wouldn't say it's brilliant sleep, but it's better. He is less concerned with what the phone is doing or saying or ringing or what he can look up if it's not within physical reach. That, from what I've been reading, that seems to be a trait generally for neurodiverse people, that phones can add to confusion and overload rather than regulation. I think that's worth remembering for all of us, whether we're neurodiverse or not.
Oh, sorry. I discovered the do not disturb button on my phone because I was sitting with clients, and I wanted to put the phone on do not disturb, and then at the start, just before the session, I put it on do not disturb. Just after the session, I turn it back on, put off the do not disturb, and then I thought, why am I turning off do not disturb? It's great. So now I've just left it on. My phone is permanently on do not disturb, and I just look at it when I have time and I'm ready to look at whatever's come up on it. And sometimes there'll be like dozens of things like YouTube notifications and all sorts of things, but do not disturb, I would highly recommend it. It's great.
I turned off, I put my phone on do not disturb, and it decided that it would not disturb me with notifications about Facebook or WhatsApp or whatnot, but it was quite happy to let people ring me.
I have a lockbox for my phone, so I put it in the box, set a timer, and can't open the box for say like an hour or 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
I'm at the point where
Wow.
I'm like, I've got no power over this addiction. So the only thing I can do is give the power to the box.
Don't throw away the key.
Yeah.
That's hardcore. That's real hardcore.
Mm.
I tend to switch the phone off at night and put it on Do Not Disturb, but you make me wonder actually just to keep it on the whole time after what you've just been saying. And I do find that physical activity. I used to do a lot of gardening, but I'm in between houses at the moment, so I've only got a tiny space. So I find going to the gym and doing a workout mentally and physically, more mentally actually, is so beneficial to straightening my head out and making plans and all sorts of things. And I find that's a great way to change gear and relax almost bizarrely.
Yeah, even just walking, taking to walk, just going for a walk without a phone is so much relieving.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic. Any physical exercise, I think, is mentally therapeutic.
I've also got this mandala art, if you've heard about. They are fine pictures, like with fine coloring things. So I practice that once in a while. So you have to have, very focused attention so that you don't make a mistake on those patterns. They're very fine patterns. And once you are done with that, it's a good feeling when you look at that picture, what you have colored. You haven't drawn it, but it's colored and you have maintained the pattern. So it really needs focus, the mandala art. So that's one thing when I feel like you show, okay, I don't need the phone over here.
I took urban.
And I'm reflecting on what Ronin also said, like early morning, do I need to take up the phone? But it's like, the hand immediately goes to the phone. So something I would reflect and I would like to do about it before going to bed. I have been practicing that, but lately again, I slipped into my habit of looking at the phone before going to sleep. I think, yeah, I can think of 1 hour switching off from the screen or moving away from the screen. It really helps to get a good sleep.
I picked up urban sketching this week. I don't know if you've heard of it all, but I don't have artistic talent for proper drawings and paintings, but urban sketching is quick and easy. It gives me 40 minutes where I'm really focused on what I'm doing, and it's been lovely. I've really enjoyed it.
Wow. Sketching and coloring also?
Yeah. I'll show you. I did one yesterday from a photograph. Don't know, can you see that?
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's blurred. If you can take it to the back of the camera.
It's really hard. No, I've got my settings on blur.
Yeah. Now, when you tilted it little, you held it in a tilted way. It was clear, like little.
I can't get it
could
there.
hold it little lower. There's some bridge.
No, never mind. Doesn't matter. But it was lovely. Just the sketching and then the painting, and it's just real focused stuff.
Yeah.
I used to get it through music, but I lost my hearing, so I can't do that anymore. So I had to find a new strategy, and that would seem to be the right one. So happy with that.
I live close by the beach, and there's a lot of people stand painting with their easels, and I think that just looks magical. And I think that could be an incredibly therapeutic experience, and it's lovely watching them.
I've yet to try it outside.
We could see parts of your painting then. It looked lovely. We could see bits.
Yeah, it came on quite well. I was quite pleased with that one.
I also came to a concept like learning new things, making new patterns, uh, also helps us retain our brain elasticity for a longer time. So I'm thinking of joining uh, some easy music class. I'm not at all good in music. I mean, using the instrument. So I mentioned it to my son that I would like to join some music class or maybe dance class, which I have never done. Dance would be physical. So again, the brain says, okay, it's physical. Would you be able to do it and all? Uh, so trekking is something I've been regularly doing once in a month. I go for a trek or maybe on a challenging trek, spiritual treks. Uh, walking challenges. These are some of the things I take up. Of course, again, walking challenges are with the apps. So I keep on watching on that. Uh, how much did I finish? But treks are very fine, very good. And since I go on the mountains, there are no network coverage areas, and that's really helpful. So learning to some new things. Uh, I'm thinking of joining drums, the drum class, or some musical instruments, which is totally out of my uh, patterns. There is no pattern of learning a music. So this is what uh, would I have read it, and I've also experienced learning a new language. These are some things I think it would help uh, for a longer term and brain elasticity to retain the brain elasticity. Any experiences from your side on this?
I've found that digital technology can interfere with an awful lot of things. I used to, well, I still do to some extent, play the guitar, and I found myself finding sheet music online and playing it from my tablet rather than having a digital detox there.
Done. Yeah. So the engagement of the brain is much more into guitar, playing the guitar, I believe.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so only the learning the lessons from my son also did the same thing. He learned guitar. He played a guitar, but he was taking the lessons from the uh, YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even then,
And
don't you think, Julia, you are engaging your brain? You are putting your brain is putting much efforts in learning that.
yes, but you're still getting pop-ups and whatever while you're looking for whatever it is you
Huh.
want to play.
Huh.
And
Yeah.
you'll get adverts for different kinds of music or people playing the music that you've just been playing or whatever. And it's very, very easy to get distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point, Julia, that I think it's important to remember that we're talking about the technology and how we engage with it. And I think it's a really important topic. But it's also worth remembering that there is human consciousness behind all of this, at least for now. And that human consciousness behind all these Google, the internet, Meta, Facebook, all these things has one intention: to sell advertising. That's what it's there for. That's what Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all these things, what they do is they sell advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Very true.
that's
Very
that
true.
it's specifically designed to draw us in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think
that's a very
that's
good
worth
point.
remembering.
Very true, Paul. Recently, this I could share with you because I saw a finance person sharing on YouTube that how these, as Paul mentioned rightly, how the advertisements. So people end up spending more and saving less is also given to the digital thing. Like if I'm using any article, then some so people are having that uh, delayed gratification. Instant gratification has taken over the delayed gratification. Something that comes and you're attracted and you don't think much. Do I need this or do I don't need this? And I buy. And later on, I reflect that this was not necessary. So people end up spending thousands of rupees because, okay, now something appears and it's only maybe like $10 or so much rupees. And I feel, okay, $10 is nothing, but 100 times $10 makes a good amount. And the realization comes later on when the bank balance has gone down.
Yeah.
Exactly what Paul mentioned. Selling.
Yeah, I think if you're thinking critically and you're thinking deeply, you are less susceptible to the advertising. So they want people
Yeah,
to think in a shallow way. They don't want people to think critically. They want people
yeah.
to think very quick, because that's
Quick.
when you're most susceptible to advertising.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Thank you, Paul, for bringing up this. I remember how the people are not earning a lot, but they are not able to save. They are spending a lot.
So in a
The
practical way,
digital.
in a
Sorry?
practical way, I've tried to slow that down by having my phone that I use, and I have a burner, what I call my burner phone. I'm not dealing any drugs on it. What is on it is all of the shopping apps. So I can't get, and it's turned off and in the spare room, so I can't get to a shopping app.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's like, committing to ourselves. What do I want? And I also uninstalled some of the grocery apps. And because we have grocery shops, I need to just go down, take a lift and go down and walk few steps, and then I get the grocery. Uh, Most of the times I do that. And so
I,
the app is installed in my son's phone. I am not using it. So during emergencies, then I request him to get the groceries through the app.
Yeah.
Else, I prefer to walk down.
Yeah. I love going to the bookshop. I love going to bookshops and browsing. And you just
Mm,
don't get that when you're on Amazon or whatever and you're looking for books.
yeah,
It's so easy to buy a book on Amazon, but you don't get exposed to other things. They have the thing, oh, if you like this book, you might like these, but it's not the same thing. It's just
No, it's not.
yeah,
something's lost, I think.
yeah.
I think it's a wider issue, isn't it? I mean, I had I wouldn't say it was an argument, but it was a kind of a discussion with my husband a couple of weeks ago, and I was getting really exhausted. And I didn't know if that was just that I got more clients at the moment or more complexity or quite what that was. And he said, "Look, Jennifer, you're always on your bloody phone. You know, you know, you're checking your bank account to see has someone paid. Then you check them off the list. You're emailing your new contracts out to new clients at all times of the day or the night. You know, if we're watching television together and he goes to the toilet, okay, quick, get my phone. I'm checking something for those couple of minutes that he's away." And I realized that, yeah, I actually really do that. So it's not even just online information. It's just it's information that is available to us from our clients or friends or family or that kind of thing, or WhatsApp groups. It's just a total overload, which is really addictive and also
Yeah.
really seriously exhausting.
I think
So, does this session help you in reflecting and being aware? And we have a term in our mathology saying vairagya. So, are we okay to listen about few things on that vairagya? So we call it as prasuti vairagya, then smashan vairagya. Vairagya is detachment. So smashan vairagya is all about, like, it's like, when we are at the funeral of any person, for some time, for some minutes maybe, till that funeral process is completed, we are so grounded, and we feel, okay, we really feel the purpose of life at that time. Okay, the life is all about till this, the journey is still about this. So all good things, we start feeling about good things. I should do good, and I should uh, not indulge into all these things. Similarly, the prasuti vairagya. Prasuti is the delivery. When a mother, only women can experience this who gave birth to the children. That when the child is getting out of the womb, uh, it's painful for the woman. At the same time, it's very small. Like at that particular time, when she sees the face of the child, she forgets all her pain, because it's a lovely thing to see the child's face after having experienced such a thing. So for that particular moment, there's a wow factor, and the inti, what we call as the intimate intimacy feeling between the child and the mother. Similarly, after the workshop, now we are all discussing about how do we come into awareness, and how do we reflect, and how do we manage ourselves. Uh, why am I talking of this context is that if we can retain this to a great extent, and what we can do is write it out some of after the workshop, probably write out some reflections and post it. I'm going to do that. Okay, what do I do to minimize or make maximum use of my time, and helpful ways to detox from the digital? Of course, when it is extreme times, I need to get into that. So these are some of the vairagyas what we can think of. Um, is it making sense? When we are in the workshop, we are very much aware, and uh, after the workshop, we still continue to reflect at least once in a day. Okay, we did talk about this, and what we can do about this, and how we can practice continuously on this. This is what I would like to share. And anyone else? Catherine, didn't hear much from you. Claire, Elspeth, Casey, Magda. Any reflections, please?
I've been sorry, my camera's not on. I've been thinking about the impact on our family. So I've got teenage children spanning from the age of 15 to 20. And thinking about how we operate as a family, and how we can do things, how we can think about this digital detox or impact as a family. Like my kids find it difficult because I do a no phone rule at the table. And so it forces us to talk, and when we're in the car, I tell them to put their phones down and get the massive moans. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of thinking about, certainly as an individual, but as that group experience, how we can manage that, and what ideas they could have. Actually, my 6-year-old boy said to me a few months ago, he had a smartphone when he was 11, going to and from school when he was walking on his own. And I thought at that age it felt appropriate to give him a smartphone. I didn't want him to go on any social media. And he said to me as a 6-year-old boy, he said, "Mum, I wish you'd give me a phone a lot later." And I nearly fell off my chair, because even as a teenager, he was saying that. He said, "I wish," and he's not incredibly addicted to his phone, but he recognizes that it can distract him. He's easily distracted by it. So I need to take what he says and just put it on a billboard somewhere so that other parents can learn. And
yeah,
I think I can relate to that, because my children are in their 20s now. And when we were talking about using their gadgets over Christmas, we were looking back at the family holidays we'd had. And we've had some amazing holidays, and a whole range of, camping with the dogs, to going to really beautiful countries. And their amazing holiday memories were camping on the northeast coast. We lived in Kent at the time. And I thought that was just fabulous, because that was gadget free. And out of all the holidays they had, in a way, it was irritating, as you can imagine why. But it was just fabulous, because that was the memory. By far the best one was the gadget free one. And I just thought that was really special as well.
Mm.
I think we need to be mindful of the concept of instant gratification, which has popped up throughout our conversation today. But it's really key, I think, to dropping our use of technology. Whatever you do, if you get instant gratification and that dopamine hit, it's going to encourage you to do it again. So
Yeah.
strategies like, if you are addicted to instant shopping online, when you've put your credit card number into Google for instant payment, change one of the digits so you can't instantly click that go button. It'll give you a
Yeah.
pause to think about, do I actually want this? I have a strategy where I put things in my shopping basket and then go away for an hour and come back to them. That just, again, gives me pause before I think about it. And it's something I'm trying to encourage the children to do. All my family are tech freaks. They're all software or IT. So trying to persuade them to put their phones down is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
I can't
Same
actually
here,
remember.
Judy.
Yeah, I can't remember a time when we had a holiday without phones. I wish I could. And again, things like spending all your time taking photographs instead of actually being in the moment is very prevalent in our family. And that is something that I really want to address. And I have no idea how to do it with children who are 30 and 25. They're going to have to work it out for themselves, I think.
And one of the things that I find really annoying about that, Julia, is taking photos of the meals. You can't actually start your meal in a restaurant, and the girls are kind of, wait, Mum, and it's kind of, for goodness sake, I want it hot. But it's that
Yeah,
really
I too can resonate with Catherine and Julia. Like we go to temples to worship, and these days it's more like making reels, um, and it's also disappointing to see that the youngsters, they are visiting temples with all attire, and uh, it's the purpose is to make reels out of it and show it on Instagram, post it on Instagram and Facebook. So the purpose itself is shifted. Uh, yeah, coming to temples to make reels, photographs. That's also an instant gratification what they feel like, and this is how that gratification is a pseudo kind of intimacy they carry, they live with, and kind of struggle to maintain relationship with real humans, um, and also misunderstand the conception of the understanding about self-love. Self-love is what they think, like loving self, looking good, and then uh, I've come across with some of the conversations with the youngsters that I don't need anybody. I'm okay with myself. But at what in what context they lack that understanding with the digital uh, gadget they carry.
I was thinking how, going back to something Paul was saying about memories with pictures that can be edited, and how polished the online world is, or how perfect it can be, and how I work at a university and I work with a lot of young adults, how they can struggle in the messiness, sometimes in relationships, certainly with others, but sometimes of the relationship with themselves, that what happens when everything doesn't go right, and because we're setting up this perfect world. And I think about family photos that we've taken over the years. I've got a family member who with his family edits all the pictures, and they've got the family pictures on their walls, and they're all really beautiful pictures, and then contrast with some of our family photos, and they're just, they're the messiness of the family. They're those moments when we weren't ready for the picture, and I love those pictures, probably more so than the polished ones actually. But it's living in the messiness that I think something that we could start losing, and not being used to experiencing enough of.
I think
Yeah.
that sends a really damaging message as well. I think in terms of injunctions, it feels to me like there's a big, powerful "don't be you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not good enough. You have to
Yeah.
aspire to be something else, something that you're seeing on
Yeah.
the screen on your phone.
Don't be you. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Very true, Paul. Yeah. Don't be you. Don't belong also.
I've got some great photos in, sorry, Lisa, great photos in albums where the kids are all looking really grumpy. And it's exactly what you were just saying. I like all the moments where it's capturing children being children and doing what they're doing, rather than all of
Yeah.
the more less authentic scenes where families are really happy and everything's rosy. But I like the grumpy photos, the natural ones, as well as the happy ones if they're authentic. Sorry, Lisa.
Yeah. And also, what if the child grows up and sees that, and again, possibility of discounting self in a later age.
It's really so actually I've seen a flip side in terms of intimacy and using things like AI. So my partner uses AI quite a lot to understand kind of interactions that happen, and she will Google things that, or not Google, AI things. So the AI knows her quite well now. And she will put things that happen in our relationship into ChatGPT, and it will give her some advice. So I did something was really not "I'm okay, you're okay" not so long ago. And because sometimes things in relationships can be confusing, she put it in there, and then came back to me, and we had a really deep, intimate discussion. And where I was able to go, actually, that really wasn't okay with me, and let's work it through and look at how we're going to move forward. So I think it's really important to kind of really look at the balance and what those things can bring us as well. Like I get both, the distorted pictures take away from that intimacy, but how much can we use these things to add to it as well? And I don't know if it sounds quite, I don't know what it sounds like to other people when I describe that process or what, but yeah.
I relate to what you're saying, Lisa, because I've sort of, especially with my younger clients, I've found more and more people are bringing AI and all these things. People are Googling things. The younger generations than myself, I'm 57 now. Their default go-to is the internet, Google. They'll search all kinds of emotional issues, health issues, this kind of thing. And I've found the best approach I can take is to say that's welcome in this space. Go and do these things. Use GTB, like you're saying, Lisa. And if something resonates for you, if you find something, discover something in that environment that you think is useful and powerful for you, bring it into the room and we'll explore it together. So I actually think I don't think we can push this away. I think we've got
No,
to
definitely. Yeah,
work with it and embrace it in that sense. Yeah, I agree, Lisa.
yeah. Yes, Paul. That's what uh, adapt and with being mindful and being aware, adapting, uh, being mindful will help us to realize where we are leading with this. Uh, this is what I think, like being aware and then adapting to it, especially when it comes to buy things.
I am.
Yes.
I'm curious as to how it will change our therapeutic sessions. I appreciate, there are people who do not just work online, but use text and things like that. But at the university I work at, we have, well, the students can access a help chat thing. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it is very much that idea of a student could put a question in and then get a response from AI. And as therapists at the university, we were asked to trial it and to see what the response of this would come back with, and it was incredibly impressive. Things that we would all have said and beyond. So so yeah, I wonder how it could change our face-to-face work, whether that's going to be as needed or as wanted in the future. I don't know. It's certainly it's interesting to think about where are we going to be in 10 years' time, and so.
And I know someone who put the text between them and their partner into chat GPT again, and it flagged up it sounds like there's gaslighting going on in your relationship, and they responded to it. And that's something that we can't do, is we're unlikely to be there sitting reading all of it and really understanding what's going on. So in some respects, the AI in that way can get a more in-depth. It's a different experience, isn't it? And I think that's the important thing, that it's different and both are valuable.
I just worry that over time, this will become the default method of understanding our own emotional states and the emotional states and our connections with other people, that we'll lose the ability in 100 years or 200 years to actually think, what am I feeling, what's happening in my relationship, without being able to put it into some system. That's my concern. That's my worry, I guess.
Yeah. If we look at like maybe Paul and most of us who are above 50, if we look at our childhood and the childhood what our children are experiencing, there's definitely a big gap. Of course, things have changed much better, and things are much better. In terms of or with respect to relationship, it's very challenging, as Paul mentioned. It's a concerning thing. However, the digital era is also supporting to build up and strengthen the relationship. I am these days inviting the young people. I mean, I visit colleges also, and I've started spreading the TA concepts. And interestingly, they are much interested to know about themselves and also the relationship. So this is one interesting thing, that they're very much keen on learning about strengthening the relationship. And I believe we all can take up TA as a tool with the digital, and as Paul mentioned, adapt and embrace.
Yeah, just with that
as
in
well
mind,
as
sorry, just with
push
that
a
in
bit
mind,
of TA. Yeah.
with the TA concepts in mind, like, I often wonder, where does the technology sit in terms of the parent, the adult, and the child? How do we relate to it? Where do we think it's coming from? Where do we think it's transacting from? And if anybody's got the answer to that, please share it with me, because I don't know.
And to me, Paul, it has helped listening. Like, the listening is where it takes a great leap in strengthening the relationship. Even though they are smart in digital gadgets and they are IT professionals, I have experienced that when they share, like, most of the therapist is the best tool is to listen to the client first. And I think half of the problems are solved with listening. I'm not a therapist, but I do have the ability to listen deeply to someone when they're sharing their pain or sufferings. And the youngsters too felt it very, and then slowly building up the TA concepts and supporting them with the ego states, how the shift is happening. And they're curious to know about the child ego state, fantasy world, the reality world. And that's how we all can support. And maybe like it would definitely benefit and bring some positive changes in the concerns what we mentioned. Paul, does it make sense what
Yeah, I agree with the listening, absolutely. And I guess that's what the internet, what the technology doesn't do. The technology doesn't listen to us, I guess, or at least from my perspective as a 57-year-old white male, it feels like the technology doesn't listen. It tells us, it gives us information.
Yeah.
And we can ask it questions and it will respond, but it doesn't listen to us, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's the best tool we have as humans, I think, listening beyond the digital gadgets.
Yeah. And I wonder if when people engage with the digital gadgets, and there'll be generational aspects to this, there'll be all sorts of aspects to it. But are people thinking that this technology is in a parental position? Are they in a child position? Is that the dynamic here, that the technology has all the answers and is always correct? I'm thinking of the post office scandal here in the UK, where all these sub postmasters were basically prosecuted. Some of them were put in jail, some of them were fined thousands of pounds, lost their homes and things. And the reason it happened was because in the law courts, they just automatically assumed that the technology was correct.
Yeah.
And they didn't listen to what the people were saying because they absolutely took it as given that the technology was right and the people were wrong. And that worries me.
Yeah. I appreciate your connection of that parent and child. Like the users are just taking it as the parental slogans and advice, whatever it says, it's right. And they also argue with that. Like, I have read it. Like, if I'm sharing an experience, this is my assumption. If I'm sharing an experience, because I've seen some kids talking to their moms, no, mom, this is what the Google said, and Google can't be wrong. This is what I heard. So I'm assuming that from the real parents, the Google has become much more control in the parental position. Yeah. They believe Google than their own parents. So shall any more reflections, or I believe we had a very good interactive session, and I'm happy to learn many more things from each one of you. Thank you, Catherine, Julia, Claire, Paul, Lisa. It was wonderful to have an interactive session with you all.
Thank
And
you
this is my
too.
first time to, this is my first time to present in a international conference. Normally, I in India we have ICTA, that is Institute of Counseling and Transactional Analysis, from where I did my master's in transactional analysis recently. We do present in the national conference every year. So if the group exists, I would definitely send an invite, which is happening in November. And I will also look at, like, I'm part of academic council over there. I look forward that if we can, what in the morning Ronin could do, if we also can at ICTA can invite you all and have a session where you attend from Zoom, but we physically present over there. So I look forward for that, and it's a 3-day conference. So I look forward for that.